Welcome to Afternoon Express. Now today we unpack childhood trauma and discover ways to overcome it with clinical psychologist Silindile Mbata. Then we discover with Dr. Rithabile Posa how to greet fellow South Africans in their mother tongue and bake Mother's Day cookies with just 3 ingredients. But let's start the show with Z and Slee in the lounge.
Childhood is a crucial stage in a person's life. It is a formative period that lays the foundation for our future selves. So can your childhood impact your adult life? To answer this question, we've got clinical psychologist Silindile Mbata on the couch. Welcome to Afternoon Express.
Thank you for having me, Z.
So can it?
Definitely. Yeah, that's the short answer, definitely. I mean, as you said, our childhoods really are laying a foundation for who we are going to become as people. Yeah. And if you think about that, so much of it happens inside the home, outside of the home. We're learning how to be as human beings. So we are being shaped all the time by people around us, by things that are happening to us. And in essence, I think a lot of things that happen in childhood later on inform, the sort of adults that we become.
One of my favorite quotes is, let's raise children that don't have to recover from their childhood, which is so powerful and profound. But the reality is as well that parenting doesn't come with a blueprint, does it? So it's so easy to get it wrong. What are some of the crucial impacts that children go through that can impact them later on in adult life?
Yeah. So, I mean, there's a lot of disturbances that can happen, to a child's development when they are much younger. And as I said, some of these can happen within the home and sometimes outside of the home. In the home, a child can experience a lot of difficulties, not just because things are directly happening to them, but also indirectly as a result of disturbances at home.
So the environment.
Yes, the environment. So things like marital distress, fighting all the time in front of the child, or a child witnessing violence in the home. And sometimes even just being neglected, when you don't have your emotions attended to or soothed adequately, consistently, because it's not just, having it done now and then, but that consistent care and love and attention that we get. So there's a lot, that goes into the parenting aspect that also corresponds with how well our brains develop and how emotionally we form as people.
Slee, I'd love to ask you as a parent yourself, how does one garner awareness in trying to make sure that you are solidifying a strong foundation for your child so that they're not spending their adult years in and out of therapy?
Sure. I mean, that's a tough one, because you can't always foresee these things coming. But I think, for one, as much as you can, really being able to attend to, okay, what are the developmental needs? That I'm not just attending to what are the physical needs of my child, that they are fed, they're clothed and housed, and then that's it. But to actually be paying attention to those things that also affect the development of the child. Yes. So anything that heightens the child's anxiety, pay attention to that. Anything that disturbs their emotional regulation, pay attention to that. Anything that is causing nightmares, loss of sleep. It might sound kind of small to us, but, for a growing child, it might actually be a really, really big deal. So anything that is happening socially, because that is also the world that they are growing in and developing in, those social things, the friendships they're building, whether your child is withdrawn or not, how much they're engaging. There's all these seemingly, I think, little things, but it's just a matter of paying attention and seeing, okay, does this seem like a child who also wants to be a child, who kind of wants to engage in the way that other children are engaging, or do they seem a little bit, sort of withdrawn and somber, and just paying attention to those little things.
I love that. Once again, it's about cultivating that awareness, right? Being able to slow down and take note that a recurring nightmare, for example, is not just a nightmare. So to start looking out for the patterns. I'd love to ask you this. I've read that anxiety is very much linked to the mother in the home. Is that true?
Sure. I mean, it's not just mothers, who struggle with anxiety. Yeah. Definitely
and
dads
that
as well.
Often
I've seen that.
Children feed off that and they become anxious children. How does one look out for that?
Yeah, well, the thing about anxiety, unlike maybe some of the other things, is that anxiety is definitely one of the things that we can trace back to environment.
Yeah.
And how an environment facilitates a feeling of safety or how much it heightens the feeling of danger. So if you by nature are quite an anxious person, as a parent, it's very important that you learn to deal with your own anxieties and you're not passing those on to your children, and almost making them too aware of the ways in which the world can be dangerous. So it's somewhat striking a balance in that they need to learn, of course, that there are dangers out there. But, if they are worried all the time about the marks that I'm getting because they get, that's not good enough. If they're worrying all the time about how they look because there's a fixation on their body and they should eat, more of this food, less of that food. So things like this can start to really generate a sense of angst in a young growing person because they are really struggling all the time to just feel secure and safe and happy in the world. They're questioning themselves all the time. So really avoiding as much as possible, looking for all those things to kind of fix in a child, and rather focusing on what they're really good at and praising them when they actually do things to the best of their ability.
Yes, that positive affirmation. I love what you said about if your environment will either affirm whether you are secure or insecure. Thank you always for your pearls of wisdom. Although every person has their own way of showing love and care, parents have the responsibility to make deliberate decisions about the environment that they create for their children. Stay tuned because later on, Slee will give us some advice on how to deal with our childhood traumas.
Our pharmacies are on the front line of healthcare. This is Pharmacy of the Week.
Right, so I have 2 boys with autism, and as most people know, for special needs, there isn't very much opportunities for them in terms of working. The reason I started the pharmacy was to try and find a way for my children to have employment firstly, but in the bigger context to try and see whether I could help other mothers who find themselves in the same situation as I do. I do feel that we are actually fulfilling quite a big need. I'm not sure how people got help before in the community, but just in terms of how we've grown since we opened about 3 years ago, literally month on month, we just see more people coming in every day. We do some outreach, like in Mandela Day, we went down to the taxi rank in Bloekombos. We shared with customers why using vitamins is important, why helping your body to stay strong is important because our community works very hard. So we see ourselves as a partner, just helping them to get through the day.
To us, it's very important to save the community. Most of the time, there's a long queue to the clinics. But when they come here, they just get a quick service. We are a family, so that is a good stuff here. We're working as a team always.
There's lots of things that we know our community is exposed to. We have to be brave. We have to be the face to help them, not judge them. And so I think that to me is how we live the word brave daily.
Into noyithetha kwi-community yaseClydefontein izane pharmacy kulapho uncedo lwenizolufumana khona. Noba unesiphi isigulo, sinazo i-pharmacist, sinazo i-pharmacist assistant, noba uthetha uhlobo lo-language, siyakunceda, noba uthetha i-Afrikaans, noba uthetha isiZulu, noba uthetha English, uyancedakala kule pharmacy, Blockcamp Pharmacy, Clydefontein. Ndiyabulela.
What makes Clydefontein special is how people actually coexist with respect for each other.
Pharmacy of the Week, proudly brought to you by Adcock Ingram OTC, sponsors of Brave. Inspiring communities, one pharmacy at a time.
Suffering from a blocked or runny nose, body aches, congestion, pain, and fever. Today, be brave in the face of colds and flu. Use Corenza Paracy. Corenza Paracy. Relieve cold and flu symptoms this winter. Corenza Paracy. Proudly brought to you by Adcock Ingram OTC, sponsors of Brave.
Welcome back. Language plays such an important role in our culture. It is how we communicate with each other, share meaning, show love, and so much more. Most of us can only speak about 1 or 2 languages, but with the help of senior lecturer and head of African Languages Literature is UCT's Dr. Rithabile Posa. We are going to discover 1 or 2 more greetings. Now, are you ready? I mean, for myself, Z, I kind of feel equipped.
Yeah, I'm open to learning.
I love that.
You know, Madiba said, if you speak to a man in a language he understands, you speak to his head. If you speak to a man in a language he speaks, you speak to his heart.
Absolutely. And Rithabile, that's where you come in.
Well, yes, of course. And thank you for inviting me. And this is a very interesting topic of especially being able to create people in their mother tongue language. It has so much in it. And first of all, it's recognition and respect for one another. Remember, South Africa, we are a diverse society or community. And it's also fair to be able to communicate or create at least other people in their languages.
Yeah.
It's, for me, also speaks to respect, acknowledgement, and being seen. And with 11 official languages, it can be quite a homework task. So right now, we kind of want to play with that. We want to not only play with our own mother tongues, but introduce the rest of South Africa to other languages. So we kind of want you to please introduce us into different ways of greeting, whether it's in isiZulu, isiXhosa, or Sesotho.
It's actually very easy to be able to create Sesotho. If you are able to say Dumelang, then you have greeted the Tswanas, the Pedis, and the South Sotho. That means 3 groups. Just Dumelang. It cuts across 3 languages.
I love that.
Can you say that?
Z?
I love that.
Dumelang.
Ache.
Retain. So Z is correct. When we move to isiZulu, I think even when you get into a plane, you have heard Sanibonani. This was common. It's like Sanibonani, like hello.
Yeah.
And then you say Sawubona.
Yebo
sawubona. Z is good. I think she's awesome.
Am I impressing you?
So much. You know, you're such a, that student in my classroom. So, Sanibonani. But again, we are in the Western Cape.
Yes.
Then you should be able to say Molweni.
Molo. Okay, Masiswam, before we get into isiXhosa, I want to kind of test Z.
All right.
As a Zulu girl. Yes. Friend, you'll do great. You are really good with languages. And you're also very culturally aware. So I really don't think you'll fail at this. So as a Zulu girl, I'm going to ask you to please greet me. And I might just push the envelope and ask you to ask me how I am in isiZulu.
Gosh.
So just greet.
So what is Yebo?
Yes.
Yebo is yes, right?
Yes.
So, and Sawubona?
Hello.
Yebo Sawubona. Okay?
Yes.
So I would then reply to you and say, Yebo Sawubona. If you initiate the conversation, I will then reply and say, Yebo Sawubona, because I'm acknowledging your greeting.
Yes. Okay.
So you can just start to say Sawubona.
Sawubona.
Yebo Sawubona, Z unjani?
Ngiyaphila unjani? Wena?
Yes, exactly.
You're right.
Z, trust yourself.
Oh my God. Yeah, stop doubting yourself. Yeah.
Don't doubt yourself.
You're
That
on
was
it.
amazing.
Yeah,
Okay.
definitely.
Yeah, okay. Let's try that one more time.
Sawubona.
Yebo Z, Sawubona, unjani?
Ngiyaphila wena unjani?
Ngiyaphila sithandwa sami. Mwah! 10 out of 10.
So, Yabona, okay, you see, now it's like you're speaking this language. Now I was about to.
That's where I was going. Do you know the doctor was literally about to communicate with you in isiZulu because that's how much she had bought the fact that you are sazi.
Yes.
She was like, Uyabona.
My mind just went into your mode. So, what I was saying is the same thing now in isiZulu. What did you say when you say, I'm well?
Ngi means me. I. Yeah.
What did you say?
I'm good in you.
No, in isiZulu, what did you say? Ngiyaphila.
Ngiyaphila. Yeah, ngiyaphila.
And then when you bring it locally in isiXhosa, you are going to say ndiphilile.
Okay.
Ngiyaphila ndiphilile wena.
Okay.
Do you see the difference?
Yes.
It's very slight.
Yeah.
Just the prefix at the beginning of
it changes.
Ngiyaphila ndiphilile. So in Sotho, say kiyaphila.
Where does one start as an adult to learn vernacular?
You know that it's attitude. Your attitude is the one that will take you further because South Africa is diverse. You would find somebody speaking in African languages everywhere, at workplaces, at home, neighbors, everywhere. It's just you changing your attitude to say, I really want to learn. And you start greeting your neighbor. You start greeting like in their language. It's not even a bad thing to say, what language do you speak? And if they say, okay, I speak Chivenda, and then how do I say, good morning, Dibachironi. You know, you start...
Yes, you start practicing.
Yes, practicing, and you get it right. And you would see also the reception from your neighbor, how, you know, they are where you are recognizing.
Yes, you speak into the heart.
Exactly what you just referred to.
Yeah, beautiful.
And you cannot be afraid to fail.
True.
Sometimes
fail forward.
Fail forward. A lot of people will laugh and a lot of people make fun of you. But as long as you make the effort, Doctor, it has been so incredible to have you. Not only are you radiating in your incredible traditional colors, but you have definitely brought some insight to the conversation. Siyabonga.
Kiyaleboha. Then you say re because there's two of you. Realeboha.
I'm learning. Realeboha. Now, in our diverse Rainbow Nation, so many people speak different languages. It makes us who we are. So on social media, we would like to know, how many languages do you speak? What are they? And when you do answer, please do remember to use the hashtag Afternoon Express in all of them. Now, don't go anywhere because in a bit, we are going to make a delicious lamb curry and rice, speaking to my language. Can't wait.
Durbanites are not the only ones who can master a classic lamb curry, although they are pretty hard to beat. But with the right recipe, you can also make a knockout dish. So today, we are showing you how to make our version. And rumor has it that adding that extra bit of oil and spices is what takes the lamb curry from good to great. So we've got our spices, Olive Pride olive oil, and Chef Jay on standby.
Yeah, I am Z, and firstly, welcome Dr. Rithabile. It is an honor to have you in the kitchen. Are you a curry fan?
Of course.
So I'm so happy to have you by my side
I'm
today.
excited to learn as well.
Perfect. So, Nyama, there we go. Oh, the good stuff. Now, we're using lamb today. There's so many different ways of making curry. Lamb is one of my favorites just because it's just such a good meat to cook with. So we're using two different cuts today. We're using the shoulder and we're also using some knuckles. Now, when I make lamb curry, knuckles are my jam. So knuckles give you the bone marrow, adds that
flavor. Your mouth is salivating.
It is. And the shoulder has a beautiful amount of fat and it's not as tough as the leg. So we're going to use those two cuts today. But Z, of course, we've got to start the curry off. What is the one way to start the curry off? With some oil.
Yes, absolutely.
And oil is literally the soul of a curry because it sort of brings all those ingredients together. It coats everything in the pot. And we're using the Clover Olive Pride blend today. And this is great for curries.
Yes.
So I'm just going to pour some into our pot over there.
And you know what, Jay? You know some mothers can't cook. So this is a good way also of them learning how to...
Exactly. And also for the kids out there to learn how to spoil your mom.
Definitely. So I'm learning as well.
Amazing. So we've already browned our meat off in the pan, and that's why you see that coloring at the bottom. Real caramelization on your meat first is always a good way to start. So in with our onions. We've got fresh ginger and garlic.
Yum.
And then we've got some fresh curry leaves. If you can find these, amazing. If not, you can get dried curry leaves. You could use some bay leaves as well. Cinnamon stick.
Okay.
And we're going to go in with 2 red chilies and give that
Spices are important, right?
So important. And we're using a combination of whole spice and ground, because with a curry you really want to build, flavors, because it cooks slow and slow for a long time. So you really want to build on those flavor profiles. So we've got ground turmeric, ground cumin, and ground coriander. So we're going to toss that into the pan. I'm actually just going to raise the heat, and you can already smell how aromatic and fragrant it is. And those spices, the combination of them with the chili, with the cinnamon, really give that warming feel when you eat. And
the quantity, Jay. The quantity.
Quantity. So, when I was growing up, I was never given quantity. Yes. Leopold cheese.
Yes.
Or, so it really just depends on how you prefer it.
Yeah.
Right? So we're going to go in now with some tin tomatoes.
Okay.
I generally like to use fresh tomato that I grate.
Okay.
That's just how my grand
Your mother did it, or your granny? Yeah.
And then toss that into the spice. And then we're just going to use a little bit of water just to bring that together. And then the last step is just to add your meat. And I can't wait to get these knuckles, because just to sit...
I can see it. Just to sit already.
Just to sit and suck that bone marrow out, one of my favorite
Jay,
parts.
you look super excited, but I think maybe Doctor needs to taste something.
I think so. We've got a generous amount. So, Doctor, are you going to give this a taste for us? If you wouldn't mind just handing one of those
These
over.
are so beautifully displayed.
And this is...
There you go.
There you go.
There's your lamb curry and a fork.
And we've got some naan bread that we've made by hand on the side, some nice basmati rice, nice sambal, and we've actually fried some of these curry leaves as a garnish.
Oh, lovely. Lovely.
Nice on top.
Nicely. This is lovely.
Are you enjoying it?
Yummy.
Not too spicy?
Not too spicy. I think I would have added more spice because I love spice.
Well, that's the fun thing about a curry, is that you can make it your own, and I hope that you're going to make it your own this Mother's Day.
Of course. Of course, it's my dish for Mother's Day.
Amazing.
Well, there you go. Get into the kitchen and discover your love for cooking and spices by making this classic lamb curry and rice. To get the full recipe, go to afternoonexpress.co.za.
Experience the new face of Clover Olive Pride Oils, your same trusted choice for premium olive oil. Same great formulation, fresh new look.
He is one of the most popular and successful young fitness and fashion models in South Africa. And one of his best traits is that he loves to always discover another side to himself. Please help me welcome Audrey Lunda to the couch. Welcome to Afternoon Express.
Thank you. It's a pleasure having me here.
Now, you are very well put together.
Oh, thank you.
The way you speak, your poise, and just your entire presence is one that is whole.
Yeah.
But I can't imagine it's always been like that. How did it all start for you? Tell me the beginning of Audrey.
Well, I was born and raised in Congo. I flew down to South Africa about 9 years ago. The main reason I came to South Africa was to pursue my tertiary education. So I got back to South Africa. I went to AFDA. I got my degree in business innovation. But it all started when I was in my second year. I went through a rough moment. I felt a bit depressed. I think why I got depressed because I lost interest in whatever I was studying. And everybody around me seemed to move in life. They knew what they wanted to do in their life. And for me, I felt like I did not know what my next stage was. So that stage went for a couple of months. Then I got myself into reading a lot of books and listening to a lot of podcasts. And all these people used to speak about finding your purpose, discovering your potential. And I'd ask myself some deep question: what is my potential? What am I good at? And the answer was clear to me. Fashion has always been something that I'm always passionate about. It comes easily to me. Then I decided to become a model. I took a leap of faith. So I went on and applied to all these model agencies that I knew, but sadly, all of them rejected me. And then one day I was scrolling through my Instagram, then I stumbled upon this social media page. Was a black German model, and he called himself freelance model. And I looked at what he was doing, and that's the moment where I got so fascinated. He was doing what I wanted to do. So and I started doing that. I followed his footsteps, and I started posting on social media every single day. And for the past 6 years of my life, I've been inspiring guys to dress better and become the best version of themselves.
Oh, that is such a gorgeous story. I mean, you were able to take something that is very sad and something that might tank another person, which is depression, being overwhelmed, being in a new country, but you were able to galvanize it and elevate yourself. And now that you decided to start creating content and start becoming the model, the freelance model that
Yes.
you wanted to be, when did your page start blowing up?
Well, I think that happened during lockdown. I went through lockdown with pretty much 8,000 followers on Instagram. And by the end of lockdown, I was over 100,000 followers, you know. Because one thing I realized is that people be stuck on the phone. We're all locked in our house, so we used to consume a lot of content on social media. So to me, that was my moment to shine. And I just knew that if I post enough content, people would buy into it. And by the time lockdown was ended, I came up with so many followers and a lot of brand deals. So that was my breakthrough.
What an incredible jump. You went from about 8,000 followers to over 100,000.
On both platforms, Instagram and TikTok.
How would you describe your fashion and your lifestyle content?
Well, I mean, if you have to speak about my fashion, I've got a very versatile approach to my style. I can wear pretty much anything. Give me a piece of clothes and I'll wear it.
Yes.
That's one thing for sure. But my style can go from street to casual to dapper. But I love my suits, so I always try to have a little class touch to it. My lifestyle, I mean, it's just me expressing my aspiration to life. I love nice things, you know. It's me expressing what I love. I love traveling. I love high-end cars. I love nice things, as I said. So it's just me expressing my aspiration to life in the fun and entertaining way. And I'm so glad that people find inspiration to that.
You have now been able to build a very strong work ethic, business acumen. Where does that come from?
I mean, I need to give the shout out to my mom. You know, she managed to raise 6 kids on her own. She's a single mom. She went to work at 8, came back at 8 in the evening. We all went to amazing school. We traveled the world. So she did that without complaining. So to me, the work ethic is not something that I created, something that I was exposed to since my young age. So it's part of me, just like fashion. It's something that I've been around to. So shout out to my mom. She did all that.
Shout out to mommy. Today, before we close, we're celebrating not only our mothers, not only discovering, but I want to discover your mother tongue. How do you say thank you, mommy, in your language?
Asante sana, mama. It's Swahili.
Asante sana,
mama. Yes.
Asante sana, mama, ka Audrey. I hope I got that right.
Kanda, you close.
Thank you so much as well. It was so incredible to have you on the show.
I appreciate you. Thanks for having me.
Now, from student to model to entrepreneur, Audrey Lunda continues making all of his dreams a reality. And we hope that you did draw some inspiration from his journey. But don't go anywhere as we continue our conversation on ways to deal with childhood trauma.
Welcome back. We spoke earlier about the negative impact of childhood trauma and how it can impact you growing up and the effect it can have on you as a person later on in life. But how do you overcome it? Clinical psychologist Slee is back to tell us how. Can you? Is there hope?
I hope so. I think so.
Yes.
Definitely there is hope. Yeah. So there are ways, you know, to overcome childhood trauma, but I think the key is that you know, nobody just gets over it. It's not something that you just snap out of one day. I think there can be a lot that one can do on their own individually to try and overcome it. But ultimately, you know, it requires just a bit of effort to be able to overcome.
And I mean, let's talk about the impact of therapy, right? Yes, you can try and do it all on your own, but there's such power and beauty and success that happens when you have a therapist or coach that's working with you along the way.
Absolutely. So, you know, in the way that sort of physical therapists can help you if you've had a physical trauma, and you can do that rehabilitation and strengthen those muscles again in a place that might have been traumatized physically, therapists really have learned certain tools that they can coach you in to be able to overcome some of these more drastic, I think, or let me say, really negative impacts of childhood trauma. You know, one of which being able to recognize within yourself that, oh, okay, these are actually the signs that I have, that I might have gone through an experience that was really adverse. And also then putting things into place to say, well, how do I then begin to regulate my emotions a little bit better? How do I deal with my anxieties a little bit better? How do I make sure that I'm not passing this on to my kids? you know, and leaving them in a state that's a little bit more disturbed, or that affects their development as well.
Yes, I love that. You know, also sometimes we've got to realize that we are the common denominator.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
often we're complaining about other people, but yet the pattern is actually us.
Yes.
And that's a very powerful acknowledgement to have about oneself. I'd love to ask you about, so you recognize that. Where do you then start once you recognize that there is dysfunctional behavior within you?
So I think one of the things that you can look at is, you know, actually, how am I coping with this? So perhaps I am doing things that are exacerbating the problem and not helping to alleviate it. For instance, some people, you know, might turn to substances, drinking, and think, I have a glass of wine and I'm okay at the end of the day. And you might just start doing that sort of preemptively every day, but it's actually a substitute for you addressing some of the really ingrained things that have been tough to deal with. So recognizing how it is that you actually deal with difficulties is an important one. How are you experienced by other people around you is a crucial question. So how do my kids, my partner, my friends, how do they experience me? And sometimes that can also be really, really telling. If there's something you're hearing that's coming up more than once, there's probably some truth to that. So I think really there's an introspection that is needed, but sometimes you might also not be able to do that yourself. And you might find that friends, people that you trust are really close to you, they have things to say that you might need to think about, and then you perhaps seek out the help in order to be able to recognize these signs a bit better and start to deal with it a little bit more.
Thank you, Slee. I'd love to ask you, so, you know, when it comes to parents that are, you know, perhaps older, is there some degree of shame that is linked to, I'm not going to say I'm wrong because I'm the parent? And if there is, how do you navigate that fine balance of showing up in your family vulnerably with your children and saying, I'm wrong and I'm trying to work through this?
I do find that. I find that there's a great degree of shame. And in fact, it's one of the biggest barriers to healing, to your own personal healing, and to perhaps even the healing that your children might get from you acknowledging that, you know what, I messed up. Perhaps I did fail you in certain ways. I didn't look out for you and protect you in these other ways. So I would say, I mean, it's very important to be able to address the shame, but it's not you saying I'm a terrible person. It's you perhaps acknowledging that, you know what, I maybe didn't do better at that time, but I might know better now, and I might be able to act in a different way now. So really, I'm hoping that for people it can be a point of change. It can be a point to say, let healing begin when I acknowledge it, and let it not be a condemnation of who I am as a person.
I like that. And then lastly, I'd love to ask you, do you think that there is a little inner child in all of us that needs some healing?
You know, I think so. I think there's an inner child in all of us who needs something. It might not necessarily be healing in a conventional way that we think of it, but just an acknowledgement that I'm good enough, you know, and that things that I do as a person, just me existing, being the way that I am, it's good enough. And that's why it is so important to take care of your health, to be able to look after yourself, because that inner child also needs you to be a big parent on their behalf and really take care of them. So I think all of us, we can look at ourselves and sort of think, sure, what is 8-year-old me feeling in this moment? What would she say? And would she say, actually, well done. Thank you so much for taking care of me in such a great way.
I love that. Slee, it's always an honor speaking to you. Thank you so much. Dealing with childhood trauma can be difficult to get over. This is especially so as we get older. So when we reflect on our past, we need to know that it is the past and that we can take steps to regain our life and our confidence.
There are stories of creators, and we're inspired by them all. We invite you to write your story with us. Your story matters. ABSA.
Whether you're a seasoned runner or you simply love a good time, the ABSA Run Your City series is for you. Coming up next in the Mother City on the 12th of May, we caught up with the ABSA team to hear all about what we can expect on the day and why you should lace up and join in on the most fun 10K race ever. Who knows, you might just discover your inner athlete. Jabulile, it is always so incredible to see you.
Thank you, Pale, for having me.
Now the Absa Run Your City series is in full swing and the next 10K race is in the mother city. Can you tell me a little bit more about the series and why should people get involved?
The series is like a really, really fun race that people can get involved with. It's a short but attainable distance, 10Ks. It's about fun, it's about the vibe, it's about just celebrating life. It's family friendly. You can bring your kids to walk and run. It doesn't matter your fitness level. Anybody can actually do a 10K walk and run.
How is the series a part of Absa's ethos of Your Story Matters?
So if you think about it, Bali, everybody has got a backstory of why they started running, why they keep running, why they want to be part of any running fraternity. So running is your story because for every time that you run, there's a story behind that. Other people run to make friends, other people run to be part of a community, other people run to keep healthy. I run to keep my mind stimulated, other people run to get over an ex. There's always a story why people are running, you know?
When it comes to community impact, I know that is extremely important to Absa. How does Run Your City series communicate that?
So at Absa, we're very intentional about what we want our sponsorships to achieve. And one of those pillars is our Forces for Good. And Forces for Good is really about us making a difference and an impact in the community. So by far and wide, we use our sponsorships to actually better the communities. If you think about it, properties like Run Your City will attract people from other provinces. That's got an impact on tourism. That's got an impact on injecting some economic growth to the economy of that particular province, you know. So we're very intentional. Even when we procure services of the SMEs that are within the communities itself. So we pride ourselves in one of our values, which is stewardship, where we leave everything better than how we found it. So properties like Run Your City really help us to be impactful and have a difference in more sustainable programs that we get involved with.
I believe that Absa is also pledging R1 for every 1 kilometer achieved. Tell me more about that initiative.
We've got a community of Strava people, and what better way to give everybody a cause, a reason why they're running. Besides their beautiful stories, there's also community impact that they can make. Number one, if they run, for every kilometer that they run, we pledge R1 as Absa, and we want to raise as much funds as possible for us to be able to proceed and continue with the initiatives that we've already started last year of sustainable gardens. Through our initiative in 2023, we actually managed to plant 5 sustainable vegetable gardens across 5 schools in 5 provinces. So our goal this year is actually to better the initiative or the results from last year, to actually make sure that we probably even double what we've done for last year.
And for all of our viewers who are going to be flocking down to the mother city for this race, what can they expect on the day?
So we've got a series of activities that we do leading up to the race. One of them is our running billboard. It's also a mechanic for us to actually acquire those kilometers that I told you about earlier. So it's fun, it's got AR on it. People can just come and have fun while they clock the kilometers that we're looking for. And we also have a nitro run that we partner with Puma on. It's like simply like a leg stretch, 5 kilometers. That's where people can start making friends. By the time you get to the race on Sunday, you already have a friend and a buddy that you can greet along the way. So that's also very fun. We also have race pack collection at the Lookout at the waterfront. From Friday to Saturday, people can just come and have fun there. And we've got an activation also within the race pack collection where people can actually start telling us their stories of why they run, on real time. We're able to post their stories and syndicate to our social media. It's just a nice and fun way for people to engage and tell us their running stories, because running is their story. So I encourage everybody that can to actually come and run all the series. I've already done one. I'm going to do one in Cape Town. My aim is to do all 5 of them. So the challenge is there. Anybody that wants to do all 5, I'm game.
Thank you so much for joining me, Jabulile, and hopefully I'll see you on the day.
Thank you, Pale.
Well, there you've heard it. Make sure that you sign up for the next Run Your City series happening in Cape Town on the 12th of May. See you there. we are going to discover how easy it is to bake a batch of cookies. Think melt-in-your-mouth butter cookies dipped in a bit of coffee or tea. The good news is that you only need 3 ingredients. Jay, that's a tall order. Just 3 ingredients?
Hooking you up. It's so simple. And I love cookies in general are just very quick and easy to make.
Yeah.
We are making shortbread today. And Doctor, are you... I know you...
Toothpaste and coffee.
Coffee. So I've got a little present over there. Can you see that little cookie over there? That's for you.
Oh, wow.
And so this is technically a shortbread. So it's sort of giving you that melt in your mouth texture. It's sort of very buttery. And the reason for that is because it's all about the ratios, right? How does that taste?
I nearly said something when I was growing up, eat some more was like, it tastes...
The chocolate, the speckles, but also I cannot believe this was put together with just 3 ingredients.
Just 3 ingredients. So
that's amazing.
So it gives you that nostalgic feeling.
It does.
So I said earlier that it's all about the ratios. So we have 1 part of sugar, we have 2 parts of butter, and we've got 4 parts of flour. So if you keep that in your mind, it makes it easier to make these cookies. So we're going to start off in our bowl with our butter. And
it seems as if your butter is not cold, but it's also not completely melted. It's about room temperature.
Room temperature, especially with these cookies, because we're adding the flour to the bowl and we're going to cream that. So essentially you're just mixing that together, getting it nice and fluffy before we start incorporating our flour. So I love using icing sugar just simply because it gives you a much more buttery feeling because you don't have those granules in the cookies, and it also gives you a nice pale sort of softer color when you're baking them.
Beautiful.
And you sort of just want to mix that together, and you can see...
Doctor, are you much of a baker?
Well, yes.
Really?
You know, I like those old school cookies because I think there isn't much to do, Jay. You just put it on the pan and then the oven.
Exactly,
but
a few
3
minutes.
ingredients, I feel like this is crazy. Like this is now my way to go.
You know, and these are ingredients, Pali, that we have available to us in our pantries all the time. And it's really quick and easy to put together. And you know, shortbread has been around literally since the Middle Ages.
Yes.
And it was always used for celebration. So, you know, nowadays, having these as a gifting moment is so cool. You know?
I remember they used to be in those
tins.
The
tins that became the sewing
kit. Put it
kit.
so far that we want to steal it.
Can I tell you, Dr. Rithabile, I literally got like PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. I got triggered because so many times that I go into Ugogo's pantry and I saw that tin of cookies. I opened it thinking that I'm going to get a beautiful surprise. Kanti, it's sewing equipment.
It is. And then
Kanti, it's a needle and a thread.
And while you two are discussing needles and threads, my cookie dough is already done. It's as simple as that. So it will look quite crumbly, but that lends itself to the shortbread. So it's going to be quite crumbly at first, but you just use your hands to bring it together and then we can start rolling it.
Honestly, I thought he was going to get some milk.
Not at all. The butter, remember, butter contains a lot of moisture as well. So you don't need any milk in this.
Wow.
And ideally, you want to rest this dough in the fridge just so that butter can firm up, making it easier to roll out. But you can actually also cheat it, like I am today.
Well, whilst you do that, let us decorate our cookies. We've already got just the plain batter cookies right here, and we've got some icing sugar.
For Mother's Day, I think this is the best.
Oh, do you want to do it? Do you want to just ice that, just dab it?
Just a dusting on icing sugar. So this is going to go at 180 degrees for about 8 to 10 minutes. Keep your eye on them because you want them blonde. You don't want them too brown.
Okay.
Gotcha. Well, just like that, Dr. Rithabile, thank you so much for joining us in the kitchen.
It's a pleasure. A pleasure, Chef. I've learned a lot.
And Jay, it's always, you know, me and you, my friend. And if you want to get this recipe in Mzansi, head over to afternoonexpress.co.za. Okay, Jay and Dr. Rithabile, let's take these gorgeous cookies into the lounge with Z.
I can't wait to surprise her.
Let's go.
That looks incredible. I think one of them has my name on.
Absolutely. These are for our mommies in studio.
Pretty. Thanks, guys.
That's for you, Z, as our mother hen. You are nothing but incredible. But not only that, your youthful spirit and being able to identify and connect with each and every one of us makes us salute you as our Afternoon Express Mother of the Year.
Oh, thank you.
And for yourself, Dr. Rithabile, I mean, I cannot believe you've got a 25-year-old.
Firstborn, yes.
Where does the age go? But you also, just today, your invaluable input into the show is just something to commend. And thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
What are your Mother's Day messages, guys?
Oh, Pali, you're going to have to go first.
Oh, no, my heart. I mean, oh, no.
Usuku oluhle lo mama.
Usuku oluhle lo mama. That's Happy Mother's Day in Zulu. And I am already just overwhelmed with emotions because to know me is to know my mom.
Beautiful.
I call my mom my Oprah mom, my Kris Jenner. She is my everything. She is my manager. She takes care of my admin and she takes care of my heart and my soul.
Beautiful.
Oh, let's not go
Beautiful.
there.
I love that you appreciate her so much.
I do love my mom a lot. So happy Mother's Day, Mommy, and I love you so much. Jay, it's your turn.
Oh, gosh. Oh, where do I start? You know, Mom, I know you're watching this. I know it's been a tough many years, but despite what you're going through, you're always putting us as your kids first, and I will always cherish you. You are my best friend.
Oh.
You are my jazz partner. You are my prayer warrior. Wow. And I hold your heart dear to me. I miss you, and I wish that I could be with you today. Mwah! I love you so much.
Wow.
That's really
I also have a mother, actually.
Yes, and
I
what's
live
your
with my
message?
mother, and she looks younger than me.
Does she?
Sometimes I forget she's my mom, and I'm like, can I have some coffee? First thing I want to get home is coffee. And my son will say, oh, it's like we are working kettles. But yeah, let's ask limonade la bomme.
So, that was Happy Mother's Day.
That's beautiful.
In Sotho, Botswana.
In Sotho,
In Sotho.
la bomme.
Guys, thank you so much. I think I also want to take this opportunity to send a beautiful Mother's Day wish to the mothers that are fathers, the mothers that are aunties, the mothers that are uncles. The mothers that are, sisters and brothers, basically the caregivers in South Africa. Happy Mother's Day to you. It has been an absolutely great show. And before we say goodbye, I'd like to remind you to cast your vote on the 29th of May, because your vote counts and because you can. So don't take it for granted. Catch the repeat of this show on Sunday at 8:30 a.m. And from all of us here at Afternoon Express, stay safe and we will see you next week, Tuesday.
Experience the new face of Clover Olive Pride Oils, your same trusted choice for premium olive oil. Same great formulation, fresh new look.
Another feel-good production.